Hey guys, today we're going to be applying new thermal paste to the CPU on my backup NAS. So what you're looking at here is the open case of my backup NAS, and it's kind of in pieces right now, sort of. Not everything's plugged in, and there's a mess of cables right there. And so I had been doing some work on it, and I had to stop because I had to work on other things for a little while. But I need to get this back up and online so I can start running backups again. So I have my primary NAS, and I actually just did a video where I had to do the same thing for my primary NAS. The so the heatsink had come loose on my primary NAS on the CPU, and I had to pull that off, clean all the thermal paste off, and reapply new thermal paste. So I actually just recorded that video a couple days ago. And today I have to do the same thing for my backup NAS. Then I have to get it all hooked up and ready to go. So as it's been a little while since I've run a backup, I still have off-site backups, and it hasn't been too crazy long. And I have things saved in multiple places, but I still kind of really, I'm a little anxious to get some backups taken. Just because I'll just feel better if I do. And this is just something I need to get up and online. So yeah, this has come loose. So, and obviously the thermal paste is hardened already, long ago. So the only option is, like technically I could turn it on. It's probably not going to die on me or anything, but it's going to be running hot. And I'm just going to get this, I'm just going to replace the thermal paste because it just has to be done. That and so this hardware is newer by a few years than my primary NAS. Because I started out with just one NAS, and then I built this backup system. And it has fewer hard drives in it. It has enough storage space to, last I checked, enough to store everything that I currently have on my NAS. But I believe I have a few drives in my closet waiting to be installed in here. Currently, I have this 4 terabyte Western Digital Blue, and I have a couple of those. So it's just one mirror. I'm not running RAID 10 on this yet or anything, but I only have a single mirror. So I have these 2 drives as my data disks in a mirror, and I have this 1 terabyte drive that says Windows 10, but it's actually Linux. This was running Windows 10, but I repurposed this drive for this NAS, and it's now running it's now running Ubuntu Linux as my, which not everyone's going to agree with using Ubuntu for NAS. Some people say, use FreeBSD. Some people say use, true NAS or free NAS or whatever else. But there are a lot of different solutions out there. And some people might say, oh, use a different distro like Arch. I mean, I would say definitely Arch is the wrong choice for a server or especially for a NAS. I mean, some people would disagree with me on that. Some people just say use Debian because it's really stable. I mean, if you want something stable, that's a good choice. But I like Ubuntu for different reasons, and that's just what I'm using on this. A lot of people like to knock Ubuntu, but I think it's great. So anyways, and it has great ZFS support. I think it has great ZFS support. Anyways, 3 drives, two data disks, and one OS disk. And like my primary NAS, I have 9 hard drives in it, but I believe they're like 2 gig hard drives each, and I'm not running at capacity yet on that. But this still does need to be expanded. I need more space on this than on my primary NAS because I want to be able to hold 2 backups on this at any one time. So I need at least double the capacity on this. And, I'd like to have some free space open anyways. So you'll see this has some drive bays down here. And there's some space for drive bays up here too, but not a whole lot. And then these old-fashioned, 5 and whatever inch drives up here that were made for CD drives, 5.25 inch bays. You can stick a drive in here. You can get brackets for this, or you could just, I'd probably want to get, that's what I did in my other case, but I'm going to need to get brackets for that. And this area here used to have a bracket that was for SSDs, and I'm not putting any SSDs in this system. This is just slow storage, as network attached storage. So I actually pulled this out when I purchased this case, and I actually I used a combination of a hacksaw and pliers to remove this. The bracket was held in here with these rivets that you just can't pull out, and I ended up having to do a combination of cutting it and then like ripping it out with these gigantic pliers, and it was a huge mess. This was before I actually put the system board in. Otherwise that would have been an even bigger mess because there were like shards of metal all over the place. But anyways, I cleaned it up after that, installed the system board and everything else, and it's been working great since. And I have this open space here where I'd like to put some drives. I don't know how I'm going to mount them yet, but I'm going to figure something out. And for now, that this is the case I'm using, and eventually I'll expand to the point where I'll need like a more serious case, not like a PC case like this. But this is a thermal take case that I found online that would be just something okay to feed a few drives in for a backup NAS. And one solution, rather than use a lot of drives, I could just use larger drives and have fewer of them. So that's something that I'm maybe considering also. Now, pretty much all of these cables are disconnected. So these are all, basically all the drive connections are disconnected and everything. I have a fully modular power supply. So this system was actually originally meant to be my, I actually originally used this system as an Ethereum mining system, not in this case. I actually had this in an open air, like cage enclosure. I was using this system board and CPU and everything as an Ethereum mining system. And I just had one GPU in it, and the plan was once I got that working, I would expand it and add 6 GPUs. And I built it in such a way. I picked out the power supply so that it would be able to support, I was going to go dual power supply. There's a way to do that. I forget the details that were involved in doing it, but the plan was originally I would get it working with this, and then eventually I'd run dual power supply. That ends up being somewhat cheaper. So you'll earn your money back that you spent on the case from mining Ethereum a little bit sooner. The less you spend on hardware, it's slightly cheaper, slightly better to get more power if you just you run dual power supply, which you can do. But any case, I didn't do that because I never expanded beyond the one GPU, because after running for a while, I just decided to give up on that project. So this was my Ethereum mining rig in a this separate like box shaped cage enclosure, and I scrapped that project because I stopped mining, and I decided to use to reuse the hardware for a backup NAS. And that's why the CPU, I mean, I don't think I need a really fast CPU. There are a few things that I might want to run on this system that might require some CPU power, like things that take checksums of every file on the system. Like if I'm checksumming every file, checksums could require some CPU power. So potentially I could see that being an issue. But other than that, you don't need a big CPU for a NAS. But anyways, I definitely did not need a big CPU for my Ethereum mining rig because all the work is being done on the GPU. So this CPU is a Celeron. This is like the only Celeron CPU that I've ever purchased in my life, except for like old used junk. Like I've probably purchased some old, $50 laptop on eBay with a Celeron in it. But this is the first actual new CPU I've purchased that has a Celeron processor in it. Otherwise, normally I would just go like an i5, and if I need performance, like an i7. And I actually regret not getting an i9 or a Threadripper or something like that in my main Linux workstation. But in any case, so today we're gonna be I'm gonna pull this CPU out, and let me just pull this out on camera here actually. And I'm gonna have to switch the view of the camera once I actually get this out, and then I'm gonna start cleaning it. So I'm gonna get a different view for that. But for now, I'm just gonna pull this out like that. And I'm going to have to remember to put this power cable that powers the CPU fan back on. I'm probably gonna attach these drives today because I like to get the system at least up and running so I can look at it, see what the state of the system is, and maybe if I can run backups with the drives that I have in here now, run a backup before I start expanding the system and adding more drives. So I'm probably going to plug these cables in today, but I'm probably not going to do that on camera as part of this video. And but I'll see how things go. But mostly I just want to get myself replacing the thermal paste on this, even though I just did a video of me doing this with my primary NAS. So anyways, just pull this as a stock cooler for a Celeron, an Intel Celeron processor. And this should come right out. And I don't know why one of these always has to get stuck. It just does not want to. Yeah, I have to turn that one the opposite direction of all the others, which is just not right. Anyways, yeah, so here we go. This is my heat sink. This is the fan and the heat sink itself. I'm actually going to pull this fan off the heat sink. It's a great opportunity to clean this up. I'm not going to show that on camera, but I'm just going to take a quick brush and brush all this dust off. Now this looks like a lot of dust. It's pretty bad, but I've seen much worse. Like if you leave it for much longer, it gets pretty bad. But yeah, I'm gonna try to clean all the dust and stuff off here, and I'm gonna clean this off with alcohol. As I said in my previous video, you'd want to either use a special fluid for cleaning this, or you'd want to use 99% alcohol. If you only have 70% isopropyl alcohol, that's totally fine. It's not, it's suboptimal, but it's completely fine. It's not gonna, ruin your whole. It's not gonna ruin the whole procedure or anything. It's still gonna work okay. People generally have no issue with that. Some people might disagree with me on that, but it should be completely fine. So let's take a look here. See if I can move the camera in a little closer. That's not working as well as I had hoped. All right, so the CPU comes out with this little lever here. Just push down on it. Yeah, you can barely see that at the angle I'm at. Push that down, pull it back, and you can pull this thing up and pull the CPU out. And here we go. Here's my CPU. And there's that thermal paste that I'm going to have to get replaced. So there we go. I'm going to place this over on the side here, and I'm going to pause the camera and start. I'm going to come back when I have it set up at a different angle. All right, so I've just cleaned this off with a toothbrush a little bit, cleaned out most of the dust in here, and it's the same thing on this. So cleaned out most of the dust on this fan and on the heatsink. So now I'm going to clean these off. Clean the CPU and the heatsink, clean all this thermal paste off of it. So I use this old toothbrush that's actually never been used. It was a new one, but it was just an extra. That's generally, I find that's really easy for cleaning off PC parts. Anyways, I'm going to use these cotton swabs. And as I said in my last video, basically these are suboptimal, but they'll work. And yeah, basically you want something without any lint on it, like a lint-free cloth. Some people say nail polish remover cloths. Like I think there's a type of cloth that people remove nail polish with. I don't have any of those, and there's probably like special cloths for this, but I don't have that either. So at the moment I have a cotton swab like this, and I have some 70% isopropyl alcohol in a little dish like this. So that's what I'm using today. So I'm going to start off with the heatsink, and then I'm going to do the CPU. So basically just get a lot of this on here. This heatsink is a little bit different than the one. The last one I did was a stock heatsink on an old, I want to say Ivy Bridge. I believe it's an Ivy Bridge iCore 5, and it had like a copper core on it. Otherwise, I believe this is aluminum, if I'm not mistaken, but it had a copper core on it. Whereas this is all one solid type of metal, so I believe this is all aluminum, or it could be something else. I'm just assuming it's aluminum. But anyways, yeah, mostly clean all of that stuff off. And I'm gonna do this a few times with each end of the cotton swab. Then I'm gonna do the same thing for the CPU. So basically just try to clean as much of this off, and I'm going to want to leave as little residue as possible. Now I should really just zoom this in a bit. I have an optical zoom on this camera. I may as well just zoom right in there. Let me tilt the camera up a little bit. And where am I? I want to go a little bit. You know what? I'm just going to move this over like that and move this into the view. And there we go. That's about right. All right, so that's not perfect for me, but that's perfect for the camera. It's fine. Yeah, and there's some stains on this, like that you're never gonna get all of those marks out of this. That they're just never gonna that not all of that is gonna come out. Some of that is like you can see the discoloration on the metal. I'm pretty sure you'd have to like grind the metal down to get rid of that. Like you're not gonna get rid of all that discoloration. It's just stuck there for good. So no matter how well you clean it, you're going to see some marks on it and some discoloration. So yeah, so that's that. Mostly, so long as I don't have too much resin, so long as I clean all of this, all of the thermal paste off, and I don't have any residue or lint or anything stuck behind. That's basically what I'm shooting for. So that should do it. It took about 3 cotton swabs, so 1 cotton swab, 1.5 cotton swabs, right? 2 ends on 1 cotton swab and 1 end on this, and it looks like I'm in pretty good shape with this, with the heat sink. And now it's time to move on to the CPU. Now I'm gonna start with a new end on the cotton swab and start cleaning all this thermal paste off on the CPU. And I'm gonna try not to get it on the sides, just because that's another mess to clean up. Seems to be coming off pretty cleanly. So yeah, that came off really easily. That was pretty nice. So I'm gonna clean whatever is left on there. Then I'm just gonna go over another time to make sure there's no residue or anything. So I'm just gonna run over this with some more alcohol. Should clean off pretty easily. And I think that's about it. I mean, I should use another one just to be sure. This came off really easily. I had to scrub a lot with the last CPU, maybe because it was baked on for years, and this was not baked on for years. This was only a couple years. I believe I put the system together back in 2017. Like this year, this is the beginning of November, 2020. But I put this together, I think, back in 2017. And my other NAS, my primary NAS, I put that system together back in, like, I believe 2010 or 2011. And I was using it as a totally different system then. I believe I was using it as a Windows desktop, and then I repurposed the hardware as I replaced my Windows desktop with a gaming PC, and then I built my NAS with that. So I repurposed the hardware for that system and built it into my NAS. I had a pretty big case for it, so I had plenty of space for tons of hard drives, which worked out pretty well. Both systems are. I could definitely use bigger cases for each system for lots of drives. I like having smaller drives because if they die, it's easier for the drive to be resilvered and recovered. So you can recover your system a whole lot faster, or any failed drive can be recovered faster the smaller it is. So having more small drives is, it's less convenient for setting your system up and pretty much everything else, but recovering the drives is easier. And it should be faster too. The more you can split your data up across different drives, the faster it's going to be. But I'm not really shooting for incredibly fast speeds or anything anyways. So I'm actually going to, so that's pretty clean. I'm just going to wipe this extra. I'm going to start with a dry one and just try to get this to dry off nicely, just so there's like no residue at all on here. Yeah, so there we go. There's a Intel Celeron processor from, I know it says G3900 SR2HV, and it's a 2.8 gigahertz processor. I'm not sure which of these is the model number. I'm just not that familiar with the model numbers on these. But yeah, it says X63 4D 211, E4. So anyways, it's a Celeron processor. It's nothing even remotely fast, and it doesn't need to be. So this is, whoops, this is the minimum you'd need to get the system up and running. And it's, yeah, so hopefully, yeah, it should be fine after dropping it like that. Anyways, I'm gonna put this back in the system and hopefully get the system back up and running. So I think that's pretty much it for today. So I cleaned that up. I should probably show. Oh, you know what? I completely. Yeah, I don't want to miss the most important part. Actually, putting thermal paste on this. So I'm gonna put this back in the system, and then I'm gonna put some thermal paste on it. I'm gonna record all of that, and then it's gonna be. I should zoom out here. Yeah, I'm gonna record all of that, and then it's going to. Yeah, that's gonna be it for today. All right, so here we are back looking at my system, and we are about to put the CPU back in. And then we're going to apply some thermal paste. So here goes. I'm going to slide the CPU right back in here, or basically just drop it right in, right where those notches. There's only one way you can fit that in, but put that right in there. We're going to close this up and secure this in place. So you pull the lever back, secure this thing in place, and there we go. We're going to put thermal paste on it and try to lock this down. So and I'm going to make sure to remember to attach the power for the CPU fan. So let's see here. I have I have Arctic MX4 thermal compound 2019 edition. I forget what's special about 2019 edition. I also have a newer tube of this still in a box that I have not used yet. So I still have this, and that's going to be used for something in the future probably. But this one I just opened. I used this on my primary NAS. I replaced the thermal paste on the CPU for my primary NAS, and so I used this tube for that, and I have plenty more in here. So I'm going to keep using this for this guy right here, and I'll probably even still have some left over after that in this tube. So who knows when I'll get to use that other tube. Anyways, let's get started with this. You know what? I don't think I've ever used a tube of this more than once, but trying to take I guess I should have cleaned that before I put the cap back on, but trying to take the cap off, I ended up breaking the nozzle on this. I'm actually curious if this will come out and still actually be okay. Yeah, looks like it still comes out. Now you need a pea-sized drop of it. You don't want to use too much, and you don't want to use too much and it won't be optimal. It won't work very well. And too little, same thing. So generally, some people like to make an X, some people do different patterns or whatever. Really, and it doesn't matter that much at all, but if you really want the optimal shape, I think people have said different ways are optimal, but really I think ultimately it came down to being like the winner is just putting a ball in the center, and you want to make it pea-sized. So basically make something that looks like the size of a pea in the center, and you've got an optimal amount of thermal paste in the optimal pattern. So that way it just spreads out from the center in the the most even way possible. So anyways, I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna try not to put too much on here. I'm not great at applying thermal paste, but it doesn't have to be perfect. So let's see if I can see this and the camera can see this. And there we go, that's about pea-sized. I'd say maybe ever so slightly more. That came out really messy. Yeah, so that's probably, I mean, I've seen people do this so many times where they come out with like the neatest splotch of stuff. So it looks like I'm not going to be using this tube for anything else after this. That's pretty much it, but I have another one for if I need it. But yeah, I've seen people come out. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be neat. We're about to squish it down with the heat sink anyways. But yeah, I've seen people do a way better job. It just looks nicer in the few seconds but before you squish it down, and it's not really going to be that much more optimal anyways. So I'm going to snap my fan back onto my heat sink and drop it in there. So I am holding this off camera for a second, and I am about to be, I'm just going to snap my heat sink back in here, and I'm about to drop this into the case in a second. So this is my heat sink being slid back into the fan. And I'm putting way more effort than I should to get this to slide in just right. And I believe I've got it. Yeah, if you're wondering what's going on, I'm just fumbling around with this off camera for a second, and I'm definitely going to get this in place in a second. So yeah, there we go. That looks about perfect. All right, so we've got this put back together now. These tabs, it's locked into place underneath these tabs. You basically just have to slide it in just right, and there we go. So let's see here. I could swear these notches were for something. Anyways, you know, I could have, yeah, I did that wrong. I'm gonna maybe edit this out, or maybe I'm just gonna completely leave this in the video. That is not how that's supposed to slide in there. All right, so this comes out like this, and these little things here that I should have been paying attention to slide right into here. So these little tabs slide right into those things, and yeah, there you go. You have to have it the right way too. So I'm gonna just slide this in again off camera, just because it's hard to lean over the case and get this on camera. And I'm unsure as to whether or not I'm going to edit this part out, or just, you know, a lot of times I just leave this kind of stuff in. But there we go. And that's not, yeah, so long as you get these, so it has these flat ends on the sides, and I figured that's kind of what's supposed to go up against this, but it's actually not. The flat ends are, it's just flat on the sides for whatever reason, and it's actually these little, these little notches, or these little latches, are supposed to go into this little thing here. Anyways, that's that. So I'm going to get this. All right, so I'm going to place this so that the cable can be run optimally. So if you see over here, just out of view, there's a place where I need to plug this in. I want this to slide in right there. So I'm going to place this oriented this way rather than like up like this. And I'm then going to slide this right in. I want to lower this as much as I can straight down, so I'm not like smudging the thermal paste. There we go. I think that's lined up about perfectly. And just turn I want to turn these and then turn them after I've pressed this down. That fourth one just did not want to turn into place. And that's the same one that didn't want to come out before too. Like I turned it to, you know, I swear that's this is the opposite of the last one that I did. All right, so I wanted to record this one last bit. So I basically decided I'd finish the video, but I did a little bit more after the video just because I had to do some more work on this, and I figured I may as well record a quick thing talking about what I did. So here goes. Before I put all the camera equipment in before I put this thing in my closet and power it up. So what you saw, I was installing this, and I wasn't doing it correctly. I think I was actually doing it correctly. I forget if I even had these arrows pointing the correct way. I thought I did, but in any case, point is, yeah, it isn't so much, you don't push them down and then turn them. I had that all wrong. I was assuming you push these arrows down, these pins down, and then turn it once it's in there to lock it in place. You don't do that at all. So basically, if it's turned backwards or clockwise, that's optimized for inserting it, and then you turn it the way the arrow is pointing, and then it's optimized for pulling it out. Anyways, that's that. And I had a little bit of trouble actually pushing these pins in because I think basically they push through the system board, then there's this little thing that goes through the center of the pin to make it expand on the other side so it doesn't pull out easily, and that thing just wasn't working properly. It was already pushed into the pin, into one of these pins, before it would even go through the system board. So despite me, regardless of me turning it the correct way or not, it was actually a little bit messed up also. So there were a few things going wrong with that. So I was kind of doing it the wrong way, and the pins were a little bit messed up. So I looked at it, I took the back of the case off and looked at what was going on behind the system board, and I looked at what I was doing a little bit and got it basically installed correctly. So it's a whole lot more secure now, actually. Yeah, that's a lot more secure. So I might go back and check the CPU on my primary NAS also, although that one's working great, and it's cooling the system really well now. I want to go back and just make sure it's as secure as it can be, just to be sure. And maybe I'll just redo it anyways, I'm not sure. But anyways, so that's that. Just because I'd like to have it secure and as optimal as it can be, and within reason. And if you look over here, I have my drives. So I actually went ahead and plugged them in, and this is going to be interesting. So I believe where I left off with this NAS, when I originally set this NAS up, I repurposed the hardware. I had this all in my open air cage that I was using as a Ethereum mining device. So I had this Ethereum mining rig, and I basically just took that rig and reinstalled the OS and turned it into a backup NAS, and I kept it in that case for a little while until I bought this case and decided to turn it into my into my backup NAS. And I don't believe I actually powered the system on since putting it in here. I think since putting it in here is when I discovered the issues with this CPU coming loose, and I think that's what stopped me from going ahead with trying to power this thing on inside this new case. So I don't think this system has actually ever been powered on within this new case, having looked at it. So I haven't looked at it in a while, but taking a look at it, I remember where I left off now, and I actually found this. I'm not even sure why this is in here. I found this old fan which had a ton of dust on it, and this was plugged into the system board. I'm not even sure why I did this. There might have been a reason. And I had that stuffed in here in these drive bays. So I removed that from the drive bays and chucked it off to the side, because I have a nice brand new fan already attached to the case. So I took this chassis fan and plugged that into the system board. So I'm going to be using this new fan now because it's already attached to the back of the system, and it's not just sitting here in these drive bays. I think what's going on is I basically wasn't completely finished setting this whole thing up, and I wanted to redo the CPU before I finished setting up the system in this new case, and I never ended up doing that, and it just sat there for way too long. So it's finally I'm getting this system back up and running, and hopefully I'll be able to take some backups pretty soon. I shouldn't be in too bad shape because I do still have my off-site backups, but I do want to get some backups on-site also. Has been a little while. Anything that hasn't been backed up on-site is probably like a lot of the work I've done is uploaded to GitHub. Like if we're talking code projects and stuff, And then if we're talking like videos, a lot of the stuff I've done since that time is just sitting on my desktop, and it hasn't been uploaded to the NAS yet anyways. So I don't think I'd be losing a ton of stuff, but I'm not even sure what I would be losing since the last backup, so I'd really like to get this up and running and backing things up soon. But these are my drives. I've actually plugged, so I had all the SATA cables I need here, and so this is a modular hard drive, and I was a modular power supply, and I was a little bit worried that I didn't have all the cables, and I would have to go dig through my bin of extra cables and figure out what I needed to get this thing set up. But it turns out I have the exact power cables that I need going from my modular power supply over to these 3 discs. So I am all set with that, and I'm actually holding my tripod now to position the camera like this. But let's see here. So it's going to shake a little bit more. This is actually going to add a good chunk, add on an extra 5, who knows how many minutes onto the end of the video. But yeah, so basically I had the power cable already plugged in, so already in the case, so I just had to plug it into my drives here and plug the SATA cables. They were already attached to the system board. There was a huge mess of cables here that I took, and I basically just took those cables, and a lot of them were just things that lead to the front of the system, like your hard disk light and your your power switch, your reset switch, all that other stuff. None of that was connected to the system board. It was all just hanging down here from the case, right down here, not connected to anything. So I have, for now, I just crammed it in here because none of that is essential for getting the system up and running. I really just want to get this up and running and take some backups, and I'm just going to be accessing the system remotely anyways, so I don't really need any of that stuff except the power button. Now, funny thing, when I had this in an open air case, it was an actual CPU case, so it had no power button. So the way I was powering the system on was by using this, I have a cable coming from the pins on the system board that are for powering the system on, and I attached to that, I actually have this, the cable, this is a mess here. Alright, so this cable actually leads to this little switch. This is something I bought separately for my Ethereum mining rig. You can just press the switch and it will connect those 2 pins, and that's what powers the system on. So even if you were to touch those 2 pins with a screwdriver, that would be enough. That would be like pushing the switch or pushing the button to turn the system on. So this is what I had in the system before I put it in this case. This is what I used to power the system on, just this button, when it was an Ethereum mining rig. Now that it's in this case, I'm going to want to wire that up to the front panel of this case, and so I can push a button and power it on. So that'll be all fine and great, but I'm going to do that at some point, just because it'll be a nicer thing to be able to do. It's not critical. This is just going to sit in a closet as a server, and I'm just going to access it with SSH to initiate my backups and stuff and to check on things. But because it's not really a desktop system, but I don't want to be just clicking something like this or opening the chassis every time I want to actually push the power button. And it's not like I'm going to have this sticking out the back of the chassis. I could, but I'm just not going to. That's just way too messy. I do want to kind of clean things up. That said, interesting thing I've discovered with these drives here, I don't even know how this was meant to work, but these drives, they're basically slid. So I have them on these little rails, and I have them slid into this drive bay right here, and you'll notice that these drives are, you'll notice the edge of the case here is, the cables stick out further than the edge of the case, and there's no way, even when, no matter how much you bent these, there's no way these cables are going to fit. The edge of the case literally just goes like this. It's flush with the ends of the drives. So you cannot have a cable here at all. Even if the cable comes out and bends immediately, there's no fitting a cable on there and closing the case. There's no way, with these drives on, there's no way I'm going to be able to close the side door on this case. So either I'm going to need to seriously modify this or just get a new case. But this is not an excessive number of hard drives. So I'm actually wondering what's really going on with that. I mean, maybe I must have done something. It looks like there's a little bit, at worst, this should just be tight, but not impossible like this. So I feel like these, I mean, maybe not, because these, maybe I put the rails a little bit. I'm supposed to put the the rails a little bit further up on the drives. Maybe that's it. That's got to be it, because other than that, I can't even imagine what else it could be. But actually, I'm recording this without my mic, so that's why you might notice the audio is a bit different. I probably should have put my mic on. I was going to do like a quick 30 seconds, and now it's already been 10 minutes of me recording this. So let me actually take a quick look at this now. So it's looking a lot like I'm going to have to, let me just put this tripod down here, and yeah, it's looking a lot like I'm going to have to just leave the side of the case open for now, and just run the system like that, and I'm going to just have to buy a whole new case, even though I already bought this case without really even using it yet. But it's looking like that's what's going to have to happen. I'm going to have to get a new case eventually, but I'm just going to leave this case open for the time being. So let me just pull one of these hard drives out and take a look. So all right, these are the rails, and I know these came out really easily. These are supposed to, yeah, these come out relatively easily. All right, so these were on right here, and I don't. It's late at night while I'm recording this, and I don't need to have anything broken. I need to be finishing. I need to be wrapping this video. All right, yeah, here we go. It's basically this plastic bracket. It comes out like this. All right, so it was in there like, yeah, it was connected to these two screws. I don't know. Maybe I could move this down. You know, there's no way that's going to happen. There's no way I'm going to have both of these pins. And this is, I'm pretty sure this is what came with, this had to have been what came with the case. I didn't order these separately. So, yeah, there's no way. This is just not right. Unless you're meant to run the cables on the back side of it, there's no way that's the case either. Yeah, like, there really isn't another way you could, yeah, I'm not even getting this on camera while I'm saying this, but there's no other way you could connect this. Like, you could, if you move this further back, that this pin will, like if you have it matched up with this other hole, there's nothing going to match up with the other hole. Like that would be sticking out the wrong way anyways. Like if you move this down like this, the next thing that this could fit into, like if you put it in this hole, there's no pin for this. Like there's no possible way this could possibly fit. So unfortunately, I don't even know why they designed this like this. It feels very, very wrong, and it is very wrong. I can't even imagine how this is. I must be missing something, because there's no way they designed a case like this. So maybe it's just that it's late at night and I'm just missing something, and maybe I'll look at it in the morning and be like, oh yeah, it's supposed to be, you know, adjusted slightly differently. It works perfectly. But it has to be something like that. I have to be missing something, because there's no way they just designed the case so that it can't fit hard drives in it. Like I can't even imagine that could be the case. I mean, given I talked about how I had modified this drive bay here, but this is the only one. I only modified it by tearing things out, and I haven't even used that one yet. So that's pretty much it for that. Hopefully I'll figure that out, and who knows, maybe I'll have a new case to show in a future video. But I'm hoping to get this one up and running in pretty soon. So that's pretty much it. Let's I'm gonna cut away to the next section, which is, I believe, about the end of the video. Alright, so quick look at the back of the case, and this looks like it has there's actually some space here. These are definitely not, you know, flush with the case, so maybe you're meant to plug these in the back. That's kind of messed up that you have to pull this back panel off to plug and unplug these drives, but that might be the case. So I'm going to actually give that a shot right now. I'm going to pull one of these drives out and see if it fits. If it does, we have the answer to that. I mean, I've never seen a case like this, but maybe that's the case, and maybe that's what has to be done. If so, that saves me from having to get another, I won't have to buy another case, at least not soon. I'll be able to expand this and add more drives, hopefully. But yeah, I have never seen a case like that. Maybe I just haven't built enough systems or tried enough different case configurations. But yeah, I've never seen anything like that. So I'm kind of surprised by that. But that's kind of a nice surprise, anyways. Well, nice in that I don't think that's the way to design the case. Maybe it helps you hide the cables a little bit, but it looks like that's actually going to fit. So that actually works. So you can hide the cables a little bit more easily this way, but so you won't see them in the front of your case if you have like a glass side. I don't even have a glass side for this. I have like a completely opaque solid door to this case, so you can't even see what's inside. But if you did have a glass window on the side of your case, maybe you wouldn't see as many cables. I still think that's wrong. You should just have them easily accessible on the you know, the main side panel instead of this back side panel. But anyways, so that's that. I am going to, yeah, I'm not going to record on video me switching all of these drives around, but pretty much that's what I had to do with this case. Is it's in the back here, so I'm going to have to run the cables around to the back here. You know, I'm going to actually have to see if that even works with the power cables. I'm going to run one of those before I actually stop the video. So, you know what, this is actually going to be easier than I had thought. You can pretty much run power cables like this. Yeah, so the power, yeah, this is going to work fine. And so long as I keep it like this, it's gonna, I should be able to close the door. So yeah, that should be fine. All right, so that's I'm pretty much done here. You know what? Let me just run all of these cables to the back, and you know, just so you can see how this is going to work. See, they come out the back here, plug in here. This is all completely fine. I think this is going to work out. So you know, maybe I'll just record myself doing this. And now I'm really regretting not putting my mic back in. But I really should have. Yeah, because I'm walking away from the camera and everything, and I don't have my mic in. I'm really kind of ruining the audio in this part of the video. But it is what it is. At least I got this working, and it's another kind of interesting thing, or maybe not interesting, to add to this video. If this is the kind of thing you like watching people do on a YouTube video. But let's see here, and I'm kind of doing this, a lot of this off camera. I should make sure I get this in the shot, but I'm basically just putting all of these drives in place. And fortunately, I don't think I'm going to edit any of this out. I'm just going to include all of this in the video. So I swear this is still going to be really tight. I just like all of this to fit neatly and just not be a mess. I really don't need them to do all these crazy things like putting, you know, like putting the connections to the drives in the back and stuff like that. Yeah, see, already, at least this can fit. This is going to be, I'm going to have to bend this like this. This is really messed up to have to do that with my, honestly, I almost think I don't even want to do that. This is like messing up my cables. This is so, like, there's not a single power cable in the world that this is just not okay. I would have been better off leaving it the other way. I mean, at least this will fit, but like, I can squeeze these in here, but placing the door like this, like, yeah, this is going to bend these at an angle that's really bad for the cables. It might almost work out if these were spread out more, but even then, you're just bending it in a, you know, you shouldn't be bending it that much. It's like forcing you to squeeze your cables into a small place just for no reason at all. It's really just not right. I think that's just not right, but I would like to get this case closed, so I'm going to go with it like this. And worst case, I guess I get new cables if they become worn out, but it kind of bothers me setting it up this way. So yeah, I think this case is kind of suboptimal for NAS. There was actually yeah, this is not even good for these for the SATA cables. This is terrible. Yeah, if you like having, you know, nice solid connections on your cables, this is, you know, I'd like to see if this actually even can fit. Let me see if I even can get this door on here. This is just terrible. This is not the case to get if you're building a NAS, or if you even just want to put any hard drives in a system at all other than SSDs. This is a terrible case to get. Yeah, honestly, I don't even know how did they, so maybe this is just an excuse for me to get a new case. Yeah, I need to get myself a new case for sure. There's no way this is, honestly, I'm probably going to get this thing up and running. I'm not going to run any wires to the front panel, and I'm probably not even going to put these sides on again. I'm probably going to just throw this case out and get a new one. I'm almost certainly just getting a new case. I got to see what I'm going to do with this. Or, yeah, I'm not sure. This is really messed up. Maybe I need another type of bracket or something. I mean, I went through all that trouble cutting this whole thing out so I could fit more drives in there, and maybe build like a custom drive bay or something. I don't know. Maybe I just rip this whole thing out. I'm really not sure what I'm going to do. I think this case is just too. I mean, maybe even if these drives were pushed further back that way, it's not going to leave you much space here. Like, there's no way you can really, like, these drives are. I swear this like, even if you push there's only about half an inch, or like, you know, less than a centimeter or so of space on the other side, that even if these brackets supported it, you could only move the drives that much further over. Still wouldn't leave you with much space. It'd be maybe a little bit more convenient for these SATA cables. Then you're going to have like connection issues on when you bend them too much. It can lead towards like connection issues, and you'll have drive errors, and you won't know what it is, and you'll have issues with your RAID array and stuff like that. So that's a problem. Look at this. This is terrible. I wanted to like this case. I wanted to think this case was going to work out for me. This is not going to work out for me. I guess that gives me an excuse to go out and get a new case. So I've added new thermal paste to my CPU, and now I have to go right on ahead and buy myself a new case. So either way, that should be fun, getting a new case. So it looks like I'm going to be shopping for a new case tomorrow, probably tomorrow afternoon. But and I'm going to try to get in the meantime, while I wait for that to come in, I'm going to probably just try to get this powered on like this with the doors off of the case. And that's it. All right, so you're probably going to want to hit that thumbs up button, and you're definitely going to want to hit the subscribe button, because we have a lot more great content like this coming up, and we have a lot of great tech content in general coming up. So we're covering, we do like PC hardware, server hardware, servers, services like web servers, databases, a lot of Linux stuff. We will also cover like Windows and Mac OS. We do like single board computers, electronics, a lot of coding, Python, Java, etc. And a lot of other really interesting tech related stuff. So you're probably going to want, sometimes we just like take things apart, just old PCs, tablets, phones, anything you could think of. So you're also going to want to hit the little bell icon, just so you get an alert when we come out with a new video. And definitely leave a comment down below. We want to know what you think. Comments, question, criticism, whatever you want to say, we want to hear about it. It helps us, serve our viewers a bit better. So do leave a comment. I try to read everyone's comments eventually and get back to people when I can. So that's pretty much it for today. So hopefully you enjoyed the video, maybe found it useful. But that's it. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.